Hi. Hey, we're back. Um it's your homies. We should be live everywhere. It's noon on Tuesday, so welcome to the Tuesday show. You got Nick, JFDI. He's doing the driving today. I'm incapacitated on that. GP is somewhere in the mountains. He's at his ski chalet. Thank you for taking the time, GP, to get off the slopes and join us on today's pod.
You are welcome.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Did we go everywhere? Are we good?
I'm just posting it out, so give me a second.
Awesome. I love it when technology works like it's supposed to. And we're live right there. I see it. Hi on the YouTube. We got the YouTube going. I'm going to post on the Stock Twats.
Oh, I just realized
What did you do, Nick?
I tagged us, but I didn't tag study, spy, Q, whatever on the.
Nobody studies. Nobody studies, Nick. Nobody fucking studies.
Ain't that the truth?
I study every night.
Well, there are very few exceptions to the rule. Okay. All right. There you go. I sent it out. Everybody on Stock Twits has got it. We should be live on our own X channels. Elon makes everything so easy for us. GP is live. I'm live. Nick's live. Hey, so we're rolling with my homies, Mr. Holding Bags. So guys,
yeah,
what in the hell's going on with this shitty market?
What do you mean?
I mean,
it's a loaded question, right?
Kind of what I briefly touched on prior to us hopping on. IWM's definitely leading. Like, it's pushing through the 50-day already. It reclaimed the low of the range that it was in, which was like 236, 237. It took out the high of that 1020 bar. The Qs, if you're looking at this as a head and shoulders,
you're blind.
We've got the neckline right here. We're essentially what's that?
You're blind if you're looking at it as a head and shoulders.
Well, I'm just saying, if you are, and especially leaning to the bullish side, this is where you're seeing exactly what you want to see. We're reclaiming the neckline, which would lead to essentially a bear trap. We're pushing into the kind of the flatline 50-day, the declining short-term moving averages. If we can pop above here and just kind of chill sideways, we could get these short-term moving averages to kind of curl and hopefully support price and start, resume our trend up. I think the high of, again, this kind of November 20th bar would be great to see us kind of, if you're not getting involved right here in the indices in like particular, this is an easy bar to play against. I think your real entry on the Qs, if you were trying to anticipate a bear trap, was essentially through the high of this candle. It's got a nice wick on both ends. Your entry was kind of right there, 597, 598, and you were basically risking down to kind of 580, low of that candle. I mean, I think you could have even probably risked even less, just thinking that if price reverted intraday and filled that gap, well, then we were probably going to see a continuation and a flush down. Per like our, the last few weeks, I think it's been kind of, frustrating action. I think a lot of people, especially shorter term traders, probably saw a lot of trail stops get triggered. So everybody should be sitting on a lot of dry powder, and pending they preserve their mental capital, I think we're seeing a pretty low risk entry here. You don't really have to risk a whole lot, even if you're sitting bearish here. all you're looking for, waiting for, is now an outside reversal to the downside, which, if we're playing the odds and probabilities, anything's possible. Sure, it could happen. But I think for the most part, even in leaning short-term bearish, we were all more or less in the camp.
Stop throwing up gang signs, GP.
Like this was going to act as some type of capitulatory spring, to the upside. But I don't know. That was just kind of how I'm approaching it, how I'm looking at it. Obviously, that didn't work out.
It was never going to work out, Nick.
It was never going to work out. Shit. Yeah. Truth.
So
it was never going to. Go ahead, GP. Say
Yeah.
yours. Talk your shit. So
no. Go back to Qs, right?
Qs?
So, yeah. And so we touched on this last week, right? And I believe I said 90-10, it's bottomed, and then it put in Thursday just to prove me wrong for a minute and then fully reverse course. But the reality is most newbies and new traders will call this a head and shoulders, but the reality is that your head and shoulders already failed. And all the volume comes up on the right side. We talked about this, right? In terms of so you had this warning shot back on the 10th of October, and we tried to take it out, and we reversed lower on Thursday, massively lower, unadulterated, just straight down.
On surgery day. It was awesome.
Yeah. It was great if you weren't in the markets. If you just woke up today, everything's kind of normal again. But on Thursday, it was a cry in the corner type day for sure. So you had sentiment washout, volume washout, and on the right shoulder, there's not much selling left to do. They've been selling this whole cycle, but mostly on the right side, not the left side. So this is what you had was a washout in sentiment, aka double bottom in sentiment, right? Against the 10-10 lows. You reverse the 10-10 lows on a Friday, which is atypical for most people who can't think outside of what market seasonalities are. And then you had a follow-through day yesterday, right? And the follow-through day wasn't.
Some might call it an igniting bar.
Yeah. And so this is, Nick, you called the April conversation pretty bang on from the moment it happened. You should be in the same camp here, right? Like this is the same exact setup, right?
So the reason I used the Elon meme when I shared the Twitter link is because last week I suggested the idea how funny it would be if we got a repeat of kind of like this action. And as of right now, it kind of looks like that's the action that we're getting. Basically, we've talked so many times about, getting these wide range bars and like the thing, like what should happen. If you see something like this happen, like why would we not be getting follow through? I think like it's kind of your point. Yeah, I think whenever you brought up was it LRCX or
Lamb Research, yep.
When we were talking about it back at highs, in 2021, and you kind of made the point, like, why didn't it, like, it pushed right into highs? Why couldn't it break out? It's kind of the same idea here. It's like we broke this neckline with fucking vengeance, and we didn't get any. I mean, we didn't get any follow through. The McClellan hit just barely tapped the negative 200 reading. So I think even if you were leaning bearish, getting short here probably would have been pretty difficult. But yeah, I don't know. You totally could have been looking at this, rather than looking at it like a head and shoulders, you could have more or less been looking at it just like another range building out, and kind of just ignoring this action.
You know why you could have looked at it that way, Nick?
What's that?
You know why? Do you know why you could have looked at it like it's just another range building?
Tell me.
Because it fucking is.
Yeah.
So like the question I have for you, and I know my process is, what do you choose to get long here, right? Like if you're in the camp
Some
that's
2
the
and
end of,
3x ETFs is what I'm getting long.
yeah, that also makes sense if there's trending, but if they're not trending, they're decaying products. So just be careful. But what I would say is, for me, the first thing I'll be looking for is every stock that has cleared Thursday's highs.
Yeah.
And where's that? That, my friends, is IWM and almost everything that sits underneath it. You know how many times we've talked about that IWM kind of sweep the lows and rip to the highs? We finally got it, even though we've gotten it a few times. But on Thursday, I think everyone and their mother was like, "Holy crap! The small caps are going to fail again." And
they've been getting obliterated.
On what? The same job owning nonsense of rates are not going to happen, yet the 10-year was down, right? It's like,
yeah,
it made no sense that we were selling off in the markets, even though we were, right? You can't argue the markets. We were selling off. There was no doubt that Thursday was bad. But the 10-year was saying, bullshit. Sure. We don't believe you, the Fed. We don't believe you. And it's continued to go. It's continued to go down. IWM not only cleared Thursday's high yesterday, it is now following through to the upside. That volume on IWM was heavier than the sell volume on the day before, which is all you really need to really. That's a Friday, Nick, Ben. Yeah. You don't get to see that type of volume, and that is your number one indicator that risk on. So what are other names that fall under that? Meta, gold, silver. Start looking for things that have taken out Thursday highs already or took them out yesterday, because those things are going to beast out from the next cycle. Minus Google. I think Google. I think
Amazon. Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. Yes, Amazon's one of them.
Broadcom. Broadcom.
Look at retail names as well, though. Look at Lulu, Nike, stuff going into Blackwell. That's seasonal stuff. Anyway, I'm curious on what your process is on expectations of following through to the downside and not getting it. What are you looking to trigger to get long names?
Pretty much everything that's showing the resiliency. I think people downplay the importance of relative strength in corrective periods. It's like it's the easiest money. Like it's the easiest and the fastest money. So like you could use Tesla, for instance. Like
Tesla's
I took a huge one in ONDS. Was kind of a big one. You know, let's see here. I think the MedTech ISRG looks phenomenal. GEHC, PGNY, pretty much everything drug still looks phenomenal. LLY continues to rip. I hadn't really
Apple all-time high.
I think that you could I think you could still lean into mag here if you wanted to just play it safe. Like I think
which mags, right? Like that's to me, the mags that fall in that category are Meta, Spot, Microsoft, and if Oracle can ever get his shit together, Oracle.
Yeah.
And Apple, which I hear you, Ben, but it has not shown that it has an ability to actually go and break out and go nuts, right? So maybe it does now and follow Google's path. But my thing has Apple's always been, or not always, over the last few months have been, when the markets are red, Apple is green. And when the markets start to turn green, Apple tends to show weakness. So I would like to see that change. But
I can see that. I don't disagree with that. I do think, Nick, if you can flash the Qs back up for just a minute and then zoom in just on what you've got labeled as a Head and Shoulders there. get it nice and big on the daily there. To me, it's pretty easy after Thursday's fuckery of a bar, right? We've been completely inside that bar, and which to me is very illustrative of we're staying in a range for now. It's really easy to me to trade this is because your low should be Friday, right? That can be your pull the ejector seat and get out. But as long as one is building inside this bar, I think anything can play. And I hear you on things that already took out last Thursday's high. But Nick, now show Apple.
Apple looks beastly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's
duh.
something.
But I
Yeah.
don't like Apple because it's not an IWM name.
No, I talked to you about it's more about like what it's done. If it like to me, Apple is a prove me story now. So if tomorrow follows through, I'm on the Apple train. But so far, it's been the anti-market, and I would like to see it actually be the leader of the market.
Sure. And I think where I'm going with this all is over the last 7 months, we've basically been told everything to buy. Everything that's been in favor has been like, it's like Caesar coming home to Rome, right? They're just throwing roses out. Yay. Congratulations, Caesar, right? And Apple is finally starting to get that buzz. I haven't watched anything of news in months, and here I am, on my recovery bed, checking out CNBC. And what do they do for the entire power lunch yesterday? Is just lob on to Apple on how they've done the AI race so right, and how Apple is, they didn't get too far in like these other companies, right? And they didn't put their capex forward. So that tells me that all of a sudden Apple is in favor, just like we heard Nvidia was in favor, just like we've heard Google's in favor, just like we've heard Microsoft was in favor. That's why I'm saying Apple is now in favor. And if you look at the chart, it obviously is, right? We've broken out. We've gotten this range, and now we're breaking out again. Now, this is on the daily chart, so we need to see that stick up here over the course of this short week. But I fully anticipate that it's a breakout. That's a range, right?
I'm saying what's this right here?
Consolidation.
4-week tight at highs.
Consolidation, right? 4-week tight.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying Apple all of a sudden outperforms everything that's super high beta. I'm not saying that. But as we've talked about for years now, guys, we have a rotation within rotations. And for those who are just tuning in and are unfamiliar, mega caps rotate. And whether you want to talk them the F MAGA trade or the Magnificent Seven or the everything is open AI trade, whatever you want to call these biggest names, they just take turns taking lead. And Apple has been behind for months, if not a year. It's time for Apple to take its lead, just like Google took its lead 5 months ago. So that's what I'm expecting to see. Go to a name like Synopsys. That's a long name that I'm in, SNPS. You want to talk about a name that overcame its Thursday high, and while this is in a downtrend, lo and behold, we're ready to range break. So I think you're going to see some of these names that have not been in favor, that are large cap companies, all of a sudden start taking leadership. And again, leadership can rotate. I'm not saying that Synopsys is going to be a leader from here until the year 2035. I'm not saying that at all. But I would expect this to outperform some of the other names in this same space, particularly like the ASMLs of the world. So there you go. I don't think you have to look too hard to find winners. You don't have to be searching 5,000 different charts to find ones that are going to take lead.
Yep, that makes sense.
That's it. No crumbs. 10 out of 10.
I love the setup in SNPS. Just to touch on it, you got a 3-week tight at the bottom of the base. This is a 300-point range. Like, if you're starting to get involved here and you build a position, however it kind of continues to set up, trim and trail, like, you should be able to make your quarter, you should be able to make your year off a 300-point range. Like,
I'm saying, what was the thing I was saying in Coronado? Like, shit's too hard. Shit's too hard. Shit's too hard. Like, I want to find easy trades, and to me, this is an easy trade.
Yeah.
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 Sorry to have a completely different perspective, but
No,
I think
expensive
so.
stays expensive.
I think sometimes we get too trapped into what's the next thing, or I've got to be first mover. Right? I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to do any of that.
Yeah. No, you don't. That's why I was thinking, like with the names that have kind of got, obliterated, especially like the small cap growth names, like you can pick your spots, especially if they pull into pretty solid levels, pretty solid floors.
Stairs said, like say hard harder. I don't think you have to make hard harder.
No, like exactly. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Sorry. Normally I'm the one driving and trying to keep everything together, so it's nice for me to just be able to unload sometimes. That was fun.
Yeah. It's very hard for me to put on swing shorts. It's hard for me to hold on to to day trading. It's easy, like, because I'm just trading, real intraday short-term momentum. I'm too fucking optimistic to like hold swing shorts. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I need to probably go back and look through my 2022 journal just to remind myself that these types of things are possible. But GP, what's on your mind over there? You look deep in contemplation.
No, if Fairlife wants to sponsor us, it's a great protein shake to have while you're having. No, I'm just joking. Guys, you're right, Ben. Right? We don't need to make it harder, but we do need to identify relative strength because things can still go up. Does not mean they still don't underperform, right?
Yeah.
And so, if you're building for a long-term position, we're not talking about that, right? We're talking about, I think a lot of our conversations are around short-term price movements, right? So outperformance is clutch, right? So I think what you're talking about, which makes sense because I think you've migrated from being a more swing short-term trader to being a long-term investor and having a longer-term swing process. So that's the stuff that honestly is the stuff we're kind of identifying here, right? Like, but these are all, like, Microsoft is building a process. Take a look at the meta chart. The meta chart at the pivot breakout from April 9th, 4 or 5 days of just effing around, and then boom, off to the races, right? Where that was 582.83 to 587 is the area. 4 or 5 days just there, and then bam, we're at 630 today. Microsoft is in the same process. Last 3 or 4 days has been teasing that 200 SMA, and so you have clear pivots. Did you see the guy who was like, "Oh, Meta's going to 480 on
no
StockTwits"? I think Ben, you responded to him.
Did I?
Yeah. And so when I posted, I was like, is reading comprehension is hard? Like, the stop out is 480, 583. You're in at 587. You have less than 1% risk to go long. So you would have lost $4 to make, if you held, to make how much? $45. So that's a 10-to-1 return on that risk profile. Like, I don't understand why people make things so complicated. It's like, well, it's going to 480. It may, but it's going to bounce first. It's not going straight.
When did I reply to anything about Meta? Was it
I was
last
talking
week?
to my dad
It
the
was
other
pre-drugs, pre-your surgery drugs.
Okay.
on Sunday. I was talking to my dad. He was asking about Bitcoin, and I asked him if he had any kind of limit orders to add more. Because at one point I told him, I'm like, if you're gonna DCA in some Bitcoin, just throw some puke orders in like every 5K or every 10K down. Like this isn't something that you're trying to flip. We're kind of talking about fear, and I said, when you're scrolling social media, this wasn't really directed at him and social media, but kind of talking to you guys, like when we're talking about social media and you hear people talk about this is going here, this is going that, and then you look at the chart, it's kind of like, what the fuck? But then I try to remind myself that we've spoken to it in the past, where it really all comes down to what you have, like the tools that you have in your tool belt, and like your understanding or your perception of technical analysis. So it's probably easy for me to say this because I am so optimistic, but like when you're looking at, price ranges, like Meta here, for instance, like saying it's going to go to 480. Like I can look at this chart and say he has some reasoning that like he thinks that price is going to collapse, whatever it may be. But I can look at a chart and say, no, I totally disagree. And the reason I disagree is because we have this gap up, and I'm looking at this as like kind of the low of this range. You could probably even argue this one right here, which this probably would have been a better pivot to play against, being that you had the high volume candles right here. Plus it was like against this high volume candle. Like if you were trying to short this thing right here, you're asking for a world of hurt. And if you were looking at the high volume candle, this one right here, and you could see that price couldn't push lower into this candle to even test the low end of this, it had to give you like some inkling that price was going to revert. Whether or not it sustains, that's obviously to be determined. But if you're taking the other side of this trade and looking at it and saying, okay, it couldn't break lower, it couldn't test the low of this candle, I think it's going to flip. Yes, to GP's point, the risk reward is on the side of the bounce here, and you don't really have to risk a whole lot. You're risking down to 580. At this point, like it'd be kind of hard to get involved here because now we're pushing into the 20-day. But if you were getting involved through the high of this, or however you played it, kind of right in this area, now you're just kind of in a wait and see mode. Hopefully price can kind of push through, at the very least, kind of push up into here. Then you start stacking the trade and looking at that as an island. Like in the short term, the trend is down. Price broke down right into the high volume area. The dream scenario is that price pushes up into here, maybe puts in a tight range, and then gaps the fuck out of here to give you like a legitimate island bottom. But like we'll see what happens. Just I think it boils down to mindset. It boils down to like an overall top-down approach on the longer term and the more dominant trend, trying to stay in alignment with it, and then it's compounded by your tools in your tool belt. Is kind of what I'm, I just went on a rant, but
GP, what tools do you have in your tool belt?
We know what tools he's got in his tool belt.
I'm asking that not just because Nick was on a rant, but because when moments to buy or sell happen, what do you reach back to help you execute whichever way that you're trying to go?
So a couple of things. I'll step back for just a moment in that conversation. Is we talked about this numerous times over the last month and a half or so. I was talking about I got stops in, and my stops are what raises cash for me. The cash is what gives me mental clarity to deploy when I need to, right? So on Thursday, I was 30-something% cash. And on Friday, I started deploying cash, right? Like that mental clarity lets you, and it's about risk and reward. So I'm like, I I I I don't know if this is 100% going to be a bounce. I have a feeling, I had an idea, I had a thought, but who knows what the price action is going to be. So where do I want to take things? I want to take things where my risk at that point is 1 to 2%. So let's say you have $100,000 account. Let's put it into numbers, and you're now $30,000 cash, and you're trying to deploy that $30,000 cash. I only want to risk on each trade, and let's say I take half of that and deploy it, 15,000. I don't want to risk more than, and I'll deploy more as we confirm. I'm not afraid of buying higher and selling higher. This is the thing that people are too worried about cost basis, are too worried about all these other things that are absolutely irrelevant, because if you're making money, it does not matter. And the fear of getting stopped out shouldn't be a fear. It should be a blessing, because when you get that cash in your hand, you can redeploy without having any attachments to it, right? So that's one of the biggest tools I have that gives me mental clarity. And until you take those stops, as much as they hurt, it's really hard to do anything of value moving forward. It almost feels like you're trying to claw out of this really, really deep hole, and you just can't seem to get anything right. And then on top of that, you stack, right? How do we look at this from that perspective? Okay, I bought 1 off the bottom, 2 off the bottom, 3 off the bottom. Okay, are they working, or am I immediately getting stopped out, right? Are they, so like, let's say, and then you implement a 3-rule trade. I am taking this bottom, and I'm going to take 3 trades with a 1% risk. If I stop out of those, that means I don't know how to identify a bottom, right? Market's broken, or there's something more that's at foot. So you put yourself in positions where you can succeed. This is a long-term game. You got to build. We all still make mistakes. So on the flip side of this conversation is, don't hide in holes. Don't sit in the corner. Don't cry yourself to sleep. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Step aside, refocus, and move forward. This is the market that we get these days. These absolutely soul-destroying moves and retest of, dude, Meta retest April 9th boner bar, right? Like, it trades at 19 or 20 times earnings. There is no reason for it to be this weak, but it still did it. This is one of the cheaper mag names. It is one of the better mag names. It is one of the stronger mag names, and it just lost stuff. So be kind to yourself. You're never going to get everything right. The tools are empathy, clarity, and focus.
I would argue that those that have a really tough problem with getting stopped out have a tough time with rejection in its entirety. Because if you're an optimist at heart, you inherently believe that rejection is redirection, right? Like, if you're getting stopped out, it's the market telling you that either you're in the wrong name or the wrong time. Yeah. So, like,
or
to
both.
Your point, raising cash or getting stopped out, trail stopped, it's like, yeah, preserving mental capital and trying to redirect you to where the money is moving, the better setups, which arguably could be the names that are either showing the relative strength or just the names overall that have the best looking setups. But I like being kind to yourself, GP, I think is especially in this industry, I think is very difficult, because we're very, very critical, very hard on ourselves.
We have real world impacts, right? It's real world impacts. You lose $5,000, you're $5,000 poorer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you mess up at work and don't submit the right Excel sheet on time, you get reprimanded, but you still get paid. Yes, you may get fired if you do it a lot of times, but they got to build an HR case for years to get you fired. So
Yeah.
this is real world impact. If you're not gonna, the world is already mean to you. People don't give a shit, and
Yeah.
people on the internet are going to double down on how you were wrong for one day but right for 6 years. It is what people do. They, instead of building together, they rub salts and wounds. They like to troll. They do stuff. So if you're not going to be kind to yourself, you can't expect anyone else to be kind to you either.
Yeah, true that.
Amen to that. I do think it's sort of where we are in this world of we dibble around the edges of this all the time, of everyone who is always right and never wrong, right? Like they've never taken a loss or never had to take a loss. Like I think it was last week, right? GP, somebody commented on one of the videos that we did from the show that you shared. And it's like, obviously you don't listen to the show because we talk about screwing up all the time. And you don't hear us saying how much we screw up because fortunately we've been really good at what we do, right? We don't have a ton of screw ups, but when we do, we highlight them. And I think that's so important. Because once you see all these people out there, talking about their 1,000% gains, like it just, to me, it just sort of washes over me. Like I'm not even paying attention to who these people are anymore. I know when I first started paying attention to social media and what was going on in the markets, it was like, oh my God, this person's awesome. They're getting blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you can't chase that, right? They've already made their order after they posted it, like it's already happened, and you can't expect to get you can't expect to replicate the same thing that they're trading. And that's when I took a step back and was just like, it's me versus me. You guys have seen me post that 1,000 times. It's you versus you every day. You're the one that has to be happy with your process. You're the one that has to be happy with your P&L. Because it's your money. At the end of the day, it's not the person that you're following who are saying they're doing something's money. It's your money.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many times people just get lost in, well, where are you adding here? Or what's the price target for this or that? Or it's like, I know what it is for me, but I can't say what it is for you, Nick. I can't say what it is for you, GP. I can't say what it is for anybody else out there asking. And I share that. Like I share what I'm doing, but hopefully my conviction, isn't their conviction, right? And they can't. I will never. We've talked about 1,000 different, tickers between the three of us. We've all given each other winners that we've never touched, and that's because we don't have that conviction in those names. Like Nick's hit some bangers, GP's hit some grand slams, and I didn't buy them, right? And that's because I stayed in my process, and these guys stay in their process. And I just think it's important for people to sort of rethink these moments of fear and or greed and what is right for me, right? That we talk about the plan constantly. Like, what is your plan? What is your plan? And I think that just makes everything, at least for me, seem more realistic and attainable as opposed to just trying to catch everything that goes by. So in my toolbox, GP, that's a long way for me to say in my toolbox, it's patience, right? Like you guys have seen me put lines on the chart of like, I want to buy this here, and it never hits it. And it's not like I'm all of a sudden the miserable bear and it's like, I will never buy that stock until it comes back into this magic number. Well, if I want to be involved, you got to get involved, right? If it hits that price target, awesome. Brilliant if it bounced there, but if it keeps falling, it's like, oh, it went lower. And I think having a sort of an even keel mindset really helps me parse that signal from the noise.
Yeah, I think to a degree, like we've kind of talked about it. We touched on it on a show not too long ago where we were talking about segregation of capital, multiple revenue streams. I think people get wrapped up in the identity of being a trader, being a full-time trader, trading for a living, being a portfolio manager, being a long-term investor. They get wrapped up in like a title rather than just a fucking speculator. Like, I'm just trying to make money, compound my dollars, and get rich as fuck. Like, I personally, I know this is, my style and strategy. Like, a lot of times I don't care the ticker. Like, if the
Right.
chart looks good, I'll trade it. Because to me, like, it's about flipping. It's about flipping dollars. To a degree, like, it's not going to give me, to your point, it may not give me the conviction to hold something like super long term, but that all boils down to the trade plan too. Like, if it's a trend trade versus a momentum trade, it's easier to hold a trend trade because the size is going to be is really not going to, if anything, it's going to adjust down, and cost basis is going to remain low while the thing just melts and stair steps or whatever. Where a momentum trade, you're going to have to kind of peel some off. That boils down to your trading plan. So, like, yeah, you hear people on social media being like, chirping this ticker versus that ticker. It's like, dude, who gives a fuck? Like, if you miss this trade, move on to the next one. If you miss this setup, move on to the next one. The market is providing an infinite amount of opportunity every single day in both directions. So, I don't know. I was kind of going through some charts that people kind of brought up in the chat.
I threw the Q&A up there on the screen. Throw us any questions or any charts. We got about 15 minutes. I think it's a good time to knock out some of those.
Dude, all your names look phenomenal. I was looking at LVS here because I like the weekly, so I was trying to measure out this range. And you got a 30-point range here, which basically sounds like, just based on range expansion, you could probably push this thing up to 100. I'm wondering, I kind of lost track of Win, but Win's looking phenomenal too. Kind of beginning to stair step higher. Dude, we know your names look good. When are you going to hop on the show with us?
Yeah, he says he's coming on. That is ZA. That's what we're calling him. AAXAA. That's ZA because he likes to smoke on that ZA.
I love Tesla here. Like, I really think we're like, it's this, if this doesn't act as the spring, like, I would be kind of surprised. I mean, obviously, if the market overall, we start to leg down or see weakness come back into the market, then I'd be like, okay, it's probably not Tesla's time to break out. But pending we kind of do resume trend, I think this is kind of it.
It's an inverse head and shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Tesla right now is waiting for that piece of material news, and in the meantime is screwing over bulls and bears equally, right? Like, it's just going, like, it was strong Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, while the markets were taking massive dumps. And the day the market actually goes nuts on Friday, Tesla can't find a buyer, right? So it's in the muddy middle right now, but the muddy middle is going to get you to the other side, and it's an inverse head and shoulders. It's not your prototypical inverse head and shoulders, but last year's top and this year's top, everyone wants to look at it and say it's the same, but it's not. So when it goes is everyone's question, right? Give yourself time, all that other stuff, or just be long shares. Or if you think it's going to start trending in the next couple of weeks, you can use a levered ETF to get long here too. But it is in massive troll mode, if that makes sense, right? It is making sure the least amount of people participate. I think I just saw news of a really long-term shareholder selling shares to go buy a Tesla instead. And I think people who've been holding for a long time are now getting frustrated, right? And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go use this for physical stuff. And so to see people trim down on the verge of breaking out, they don't think it's going to break out. Anyway, I really like Tesla here. I have for a long time, and you can say I've been wrong for months on months on months for the big breakout, but it's still sitting 30% higher than when I was wrong. So just no breakout yet.
Hey guys, before we go on to other, I do have one question for the group. I typically don't trade a short week. Like I just rather sit it out. Are you guys active on a short week, or if there's less trading hours in a day? I just sit that shit out. I don't know what you guys do. I've never asked you this.
I'll certainly let stops run if we get a weekday. Like I'll let price stop me out if need be. I'll be at my desk. You know, if there's opportunity there, I'll try and hop on it and take it. I don't discriminate, but I see where your head's at as far as
to me, the short weeks, the short days isn't usually emblematic of any trend, right? To me, it's usually low volume and it can go either way. So I just avoid it. That's just me.
So markets are open. I'm here is the general thesis. On weeks like this week, especially after last week, the holiday weeks, they tend to be bullish anyway. So I've actively traded for short-term stuff, and I'm using this week's accelerated decay to trade. So like while we were on this call, I just closed out Microsoft puts that I sold, right? Because after lunchtime today into tomorrow, the decay will pick up. So it's a good way to capture. I think I captured like $4 or $5 on some puts, which $400 or $500 if you're doing one. If you're doing 10, that's $4,000 or $5,000, whatever it is. But you got to know your time frame in terms of what's going on. So shortened weeks, the decay accelerates. So if you think it's going to be a flat week, you can sell calls and puts, right? I personally thought it was going to be an up week because of last week's destruction. So I wasn't looking to sell calls, but more so puts and watch them decay. That's how I trade this stuff.
Cool. Back to some lemonade. GP, is that a name you're still in or been in?
No, this one is the death of me always. Literally does nothing but stop me out, and then on earnings gaps up 40 freaking percent. And I just don't. I don't want that in my life.
This is the way.
For those that are trading it, this is a kind of a good example. You've got the high volume bar. This was the kind of cue that price wasn't ready to kind of bust higher. Reverted back to the low end of this high volume bar. You probably could have been getting involved on this. I mean, I'm assuming whoever's in it's probably already in it from lower, but just looking at the current range, you probably could have gotten involved here. Likely would have gotten stopped out on this if you had a tight stop. But this would have been a phenomenal entry as well because, price spiked the lows, took out the lows of this range, and ended up reclaiming the low of the range of the high volume candle. So it's at least in my opinion, a low risk entry versus this candle right here. The short-term moving averages are like all the, in the words of Doozy, all the huckles are stacked accordingly and trending in the direction bulls obviously want. So I think your next cheater entry is kind of through the high of this candle, which is not a high volume, but it's relatively high. And then obviously if you want to add on further strength, probably through this pivot high. I'd kind of be in the camp that like if price doesn't bust out of here after this, it might become kind of a dead money position for some time being and just kind of want to faff around in the range. But that's just how I'd be looking at lemonade.
Love that faffery.
Yeah.
Got any other names?
What HCA? Oof. Oof.
It's just like, come on.
Clearly, I'd been looking at it. I'm not in it. Bro,
it's just
expensive. Stays expensive.
Dude, look at if you Can you on TradingView pull up all the names in the Russell 2000? Is that possible? Like I know I can in Thinkorswim.
Let's see. I don't even know. I don't know how to use the scanner on this thing. Screener.
Anyway, if you look at it, doesn't matter. Like it's not
okay.
that important. But if you look at the names, I'll go through the names I have on my list here. If you want to bring them up, DDS.
Ooh.
When you talk about expensive stays expensive.
Yeah.
Next one is GHC. Right? Like this is it's gotten a pullback, but it's been sitting expensive and trending higher. I'll give you two more names. CVCO.
Oh.
It hasn't even broken out yet. And the Ultimate Troll stock POWL.
Yeah.
Right? And so these names have stayed expensive, but you can go through this list of all the names that fall into that category. WINA. Right? Like this is basing. These are all expensive names. Anyway, if you're looking for expensive names, Russell 2000 has a ton at the top.
Yeah, this is the kind of shit I love to see.
Yeah, son.
Spring here. What I don't mind seeing a breakout failure if it's coming from a prior spring. Yep. So we had the spring here, tried to break out, couldn't get it, pulled back. And again, like this is an optimistic mindset, but when price does revert back into a range, the dream scenario is always a higher low gets put in. And here it's obviously holding the 200-day or the 40-week, whichever you want, if you're looking at the weekly or the daily. But anyways, yeah. Why not?
There's a lot in the Russell 2000 that fall into the expensive, holy crap charts. Look at the other, there's another one called PIPR.
Damn, what the PI what?
PIPR.
PIPR.
Ugh. I think that looks beautiful.
Damn. I spy a 4-week tight on a rising 30-week.
With the trend of small caps at your back. Right? With the trend of small caps at your back, you can call that a weird cup and handle. You can call that whatever you want, but these all sit in the same kind of category. Anyway, you got a chance, Nick, when you do one of your scans, just bring up the Russell 2000 and sort by price.
Yeah.
You'll see the names that sit in that expensive category that just look fantastic. I can't do BIBB, man. That thing has been miserable. Yeah. It's like Gilead.
The Widowmaker, baby.
No thanks, man. I got Hillary PTSD.
Okay, I'm watching Synopsis because I just said I don't trade on a short week, but if we get under 400, I'm going to take it, Nick.
Yeah,
I'm going to take some more shares.
My the way I would be looking at it is, obviously your range is this weekly candle.
Yeah,
and I think the high of that is going to act as a magnet.
Eventually, that's the idea. Yeah, eventually, that's the idea. What's up, Arson? RKT, bruvs. He likes the RKT.
Yeah, anyone watching Kathy?
What about Nick's love, Kathy?
Look up ARK. This is the set. ARKK, right? And so this is the setup. that it basically broke out from this massive base from 2022, came back to retest it. And if you want to look at this setup compared to everything else in the markets, this is what's going on here, right? Like these are all back testing the base breakouts. Nick, Ben, back testing base breakouts are an extremely powerful setup and solid risk reward profiles for most people.
Every Weinstein style trader disciple should be all over ARK here. It's the first test of the rising 30 week after going stage 2.
Yep. Do you remember me talking about the Adam and Eve pattern?
Yeah.
So wouldn't you let it break 77 first, Nick?
Break 77.
We're on ARKK, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
70, like 78. It's more like 78, 79.
Yeah, you could. I mean, however somebody wants to play it.
Anyway.
Yeah, you're either buying that 71 or you're waiting for it to clear 79.
Yeah.
Right. You're not buying here. It's the money. Well, you can buy, but buy in batches, right?
Yeah.
But against 71, that risk was a no-brainer. If it fails, you're losing minimal because ultimately it's an ETF. It's not going to fail 10% in a single day like a stock can.
F2.
Our time always goes by so quickly. We've got
one of these days she's gonna see a tweet and be like, "Yeah,
look at
I'll hop on
Jev
with you boys."
GE looks good. Gev looks good. GEV.
She probably would though, Nick, because she likes to be out there.
She needs to come holler at retail.
Yeah, but if I was her, I wouldn't be choosing the 40-year-old retailer guys. I'd be choosing the 20-year-olds.
Oh, you ageist.
Hey, man, opportunity exists in grifting in all scenarios, but the younger age is a better way to lock them in.
You're not lying. You're not lying.
Yeah, I mean, ROK. Yeah, ROK looks phenomenal. I was looking at this not too long ago. I know that. God damn, that looks fucking phenomenal.
Can we also take a moment and talk about some of the previous names?
Sure. Why not?
Oklo, RGTI. If you're not seeing the trend already, these no revenue companies are going to bounce around, but they're pretty much done.
Yeah, I think that's why.
Just be careful if you're taking those long.
Tempest AI.
Earlier, I got stopped out of Tempest.
I'm just teasing.
No, but I got stopped out. It I didn't want to get stopped out of that, but it broke my level. So I'm like, all right, well, this is not ready to go anytime soon. Maybe it goes now without me, but I'm okay.
65 was the level, right?
I think earlier on the show we were talking about relative strength versus like some of the names that have been gotten kind of the small cap or like growth names that have gotten blown out. Yeah, exactly. Like perfect example, RGTI. These kind of names I find to be a lot more difficult. Even if they're trending, I would find difficult to buy on weakness versus like, I don't know, any other that like an actual leader, an actual expensive stock, like any of those expensive names, I would find it much easier to buy a moving average retest, level of support, whatever that may be, whether it's a range, base, flag, or whatever. The stuff like these, I don't know. I just find more. I mean, I guess you could if you.
The move is done, is what I'm saying, Nick. You can trade it all day. I just wouldn't be longing in this for the future because you see a low volume consolidation pullback. These are zero revenue companies. The low volume pullbacks are a design, not a they're slowly distributing out to you. right? And then it finally falls. So I got stopped out of this too. It happens, right? Like so. But yeah, I guess my thing is like, yeah, just be careful with these no revenue companies. They're very similar in structure to Zoom, and take a look at what Zoom is now. Palantir, not Palantir. What the hell is it? Peloton? Sorry. All the darlings from 2021, 2022.
Peloton.
Roku, XYZ, PayPal, right? Just dead money for years and years and years. And if you saw, like, if you go to the weekly on PayPal, for example, DocuSign, yep.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Like,
Doc is going back to 69. It is. I got, it's a quadruple bottom right here. Timestamp that.
Which one? T-Doc?
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was looking at the Roku chart because I'd put the comparison to what Roblox. So I flashed Roblox up there. Roblox has gotten absolutely slaughtered since its highs as well.
Y'all.
I still like Roku to go higher, GP.
I'm not saying it can't. What I'm saying is if you bought Roku on a 50% discount in 2021, you are still 50% underwater.
Yeah.
So my thought is RGTI, Oklo, all these names that have had 10, 15 Xers in a year are done for a long time, right? Until they start proving that their fundamentals will matter.
Last word, GP, pointing at you. You can't tell, but I'm pointing at you.
This is the Randy and Xander show.
I got nothing today.
Nothing today. All right. I got nothing today. Nick, do you have something, or should I just end it? Should I just end the show?
Yeah, give us your dad joke of the day.
It's not a dad joke. Why is it all like I'm getting this, stereotype of me just giving dad jokes? But I am building these bookcases, right? And I was realizing that I needed to sort of broaden the things that I'm reading. So I actually I started reading this book on anti-gravity.
Oh.
It's impossible to put it down. That's it. Love you. Peace out. See you tomorrow on the Community Ripple Live, 2 p.m. Eastern.